Welcome to our January 28th City Council meeting. I now call this meeting to order. I trust that your cell phones have been placed on silence. At this time, I'm going to ask Councilman Smith, if he would, to lead us in the pledge and invocation, if he so desires.
Please rise to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, under special presentations this afternoon, we are going to give each applicant that turned in a resume for the district, to fill the District 6 seat, an opportunity to come before the council. You will have 5 minutes to speak. And at the end of the 5 minutes, if council has any questions for that applicant, we'll take questions at that time. Council, if you will notice on your agenda, we will actually vote on a replacement under other business in our agenda, which will take place after our recess. So we will interview first at this time, and then we will take a vote under other business after our recess. So at this time, we'll just take you in alphabetical order. We do have 3 that have applied to fill the vacancy. The first one that we will take is Jenny Burs. And could we get 5 minutes on the clock, please? All right.
Good afternoon. Chairman Henderson and council members, thank you again for the opportunity to be considered for the District 6 City Council representative on an interim basis, and for your sensitivity in the process of replacing this council seat. I was taught at a very young age the importance of public service, of giving back, and leaving a place better than I found it. When my mother, Councilwoman Carol Burs, passed away unexpectedly just days before the election qualifying date, my family and I discussed how would we ensure her legacy would carry on, not only the projects she had already completed, but the projects that were already in the works. How would we ensure that those were sustained? In the midst of that discussion and reflecting on the lessons I have learned, I decided to take the steps to not only run for the District 6 seat, but this interim position. For 15 years, I have worked alongside Councilwoman Burs, city leaders, community leaders, businesses, developers, and neighborhood associations to support efforts for safe, sustainable neighborhoods, smart economic development, and fostering relationships that continue to positively impact the quality of life in District 6. In my career, I've developed an understanding of the essential skills for advocating for laws and policies that promote sustainability and drive growth. My leadership roles on the Mayor's Council for Women and the Family Justice Center have empowered women locally to pursue better opportunities for living their best lives. And as we all know, when women's lives are improved, their families are enriched and our communities are strengthened. As a collaborative problem solver, I am passionate about connecting our communities with essential resources. I possess a keen understanding of city government. I understand the importance of accountability and transparency, citizen input and participation, and continued engagement with community organizations and key strategic partners. I will be responsive to constituent concerns, will deliver the high-quality public service expected by this position and deserving of all individuals this council serves. It is essential that for the next 9 weeks, District 6 has a voice and that its concerns are addressed. I will be a reliable colleague and dedicated to working alongside each of you to make decisions that promote the well-being of all and enhance our city. I will contribute my experiences and knowledge to advocate for the issues the council addresses and the challenges every Chattanoogan faces in pursuing their best life. It would be an honor to continue my long legacy. That's without saying, so I hope you all know that. But more so, stepping into this new position and this role to serve the city that I'm proud to call home. It would also be a privilege to serve along each of you. I thank you for your consideration for this interim position, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today.
All right, any questions for Ms. Burs? Councilwoman Dotley.
Yes, hey, Jenny.
Hi.
So my question is regarding, as you well know, I am very neighborhood, community, hyper-focused, one would say. So my question is, what neighborhood association are you a part of, and what role do you play in it?
So I have been a part of the Brainerd Hills Neighborhood Association, which is going through sort of a transition, like many neighborhoods, especially older neighborhoods in our community. You have a lot of people that have lived in the neighborhood for 40, 50 years, and they've always been at the helm. And some of them have passed on, or some of them have moved on to other things, and now we have these younger families that are moving into the neighborhood. And we're in a process of rebuilding that neighborhood association. But I've served, for the most part, on the communications committee for the neighborhood when we were meeting on a regular basis, and also helped with a lot of the community events that we took part in.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Sharon.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jenny, at your mom's kickoff event, she was very proud of what was going on in Midtown Connect. It was something that she talked about at length. And knowing that the announcement from the state of Tennessee granting the 501c6, which for those of you following is the Community Improvement District, is a big win for District 6. It's a big step forward. And would you talk a little bit not only about that, but I also would like to know, there were two scheduled items that Dr. Burs, that I knew about from that kickoff event. One was I believe, a Midtown Connect meeting scheduled for January 17th. There was also a meeting scheduled at Tyner, a town hall, to discuss other pertinent information dealing with the district. And those two obviously still need to happen. And I'm very curious to know what and I'll ask the same question to the other candidates.
Sure. So I worked alongside Councilwoman Burs and Richard Johnson on that application. For those of you that it's an arduous process, because you have to jump through a lot of hoops, and you have to be approved by the state and the IRS. And we were so fortunate. There was a lot of hard work that went into that application, and we were so fortunate to get that designation about 7 weeks ago. And it's really going to allow the opportunity for Midtown to focus more on economic development, to raise funds and accept funds so that we can really be more hyper-focused on, again, I'll say economic development, infrastructure, marketing of the district, and really bringing some focused attention to District 6. As far as the things that were planned, so every year, and this has been going on for 15 years, this is how really my mother and some other key leaders got started. Was we did a District 6 summit 15 years ago at Eastgate Town Center, and these events have happened annually. And it first started out with listening to the district and listening to the business owners of what you wanted. And then it evolved into, this is what we're doing. And so it's been an annual event every year. We had one planned for January 17th. I've always been in charge of coordinating the event and working with all of our speakers and making sure the right stakeholders were there. And what we did is we brought decision makers in, and it was like a State of the Union, if you will, of the district. So whereas we started out with, what do you want? What do you see happening? Where do we go? To, here's what we're doing. Here's what's been successful. Here's what we're working on. So to answer your question, it would be great to be able to schedule something now if we can find a time on the calendar. You know, the calendar's starting to get really busy. And as soon as possible, we would get that going. It's a great way to connect with the community. And then we do a town hall meeting to reach folks that can't, because the District 6 Summit is during the day, and everybody can't make it during the day. So we do a town hall meeting in the evening to balance out, to make sure people still have the opportunity for input and to hear about the great things that are going on in the district.
Very good. Thank you for
Good.
that.
Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you. Jenny, thank you for applying to serve in this interim role. As you were discussing your experience with the Brainerd Hills Neighborhood Association, you mentioned the fact that that neighborhood is changing, it's in transition. And what I have found in serving my district is that as neighborhoods change, ideas change, needs change, and priorities evolve. So can you talk with me about how in this interim position you would work toward finding or gaining an understanding of those evolving needs and also finding shared value so that all of those voices can be well represented?
Yeah. I have great relationships with a lot of the neighborhood associations in the district already because we've got some really great neighborhoods. I mean, all districts do, so I guess I'm biased because it's it's the district I live in, but we've got some fantastic neighborhoods, and they're all good at putting on events and various forms of communication. So I'm glad and I also learn from them, like, oh, this would be a great event to bring to my neighborhood. With regard to my own personal neighborhood, I think things are already in the works because, like I mentioned, a lot of the young families that are where I was when I've lived in Brainerd Hills for 20 years. And when I moved back to Chattanooga, that's where I bought my house. That's the neighborhood I grew up in. So I have strong roots there and I know the area really well. And it's really interesting and exciting to see the people coming in where I started 20 years ago saying, why don't we have a neighborhood association? Let's do an event. Let's do a park. And I think we're on the cusp of kind of getting those folks together. And we've got one wonderful neighbor who every summer, she'll just invite everybody over to her house. And we were actually having those conversations this past summer. I think it's just a matter of, okay, everybody, let's put our money where our mouth is and let's make an effort to really get together and start talking about reorganizing the neighborhood association.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Knoll.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair, but actually, Councilwoman Dotley asked my question, and Madam Vice Chair hit the second one. So, those was the two I had for all three, but thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Hester.
How you doing, Jenny? I'm going to raise the same question to all you guys. If appointed this interim position, and if you lose the election, will you continue to be engaged with the District 6? Oftentimes, folks, when they lose, we don't see them again until about 3 years later, 3.5 years, till they run again. So, will you elaborate on that?
So my reason for applying for the interim position was twofold. One, I think it's a great way to start learning now. I'm ready to get to work now. And it makes sense. If I'm so privileged to be selected, then, I'll sit in the seat and I'll start to learn and work now. My involvement in the community is not going to change. I'm very active on the Mayor's Council for Women, and I was already active before this happened. I'm very active with the Family Justice Center, and that was before. And I'm already engaged. A lot of my friends live in the neighborhoods that are in the district, and we're already friends, and we do stuff with each other already with each other's neighborhood associations. Like I said at the beginning, I was raised that you get civically engaged and you leave a place better than you found it, and so that's already the way I operate, and so I will continue. I'm part of Midtown Connect. I'm on the board, and that's not going to change because I want to see my neighborhood improve. I want to see these things happen that Midtown Connect has already started talking about and things that we're already doing. So I'm not going anywhere.
Thank you. Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Jenny, for applying for the interim position. Great presentation, and you spoke a lot of the neighborhood associations that have a different socioeconomic finance background. But right across the street, right on down Lee Highway, you have a neighborhood that's strictly impoverished. It's a trailer park over there. You got dilapidated buildings. You got, a couple Latino shops. And then around the corner from there, you have that Shepherd community too that's pretty much minority. Black people in those communities. So how would you be able to make that transition and help those individuals too? Because your work has been solely centered around one particular socioeconomic group of people. And I mentioned that you talked about being involved in the Mayor's Council, which is great for a lot of women, but we all know that even that leaves out a lot of people who would love to be able to, and they can't even afford to. So I would just like to see how would you be able to civically engage with a different population and get them involved with the things
Sure.
happening in District 6.
The things that Midtown Connect is looking at is how we enhance all areas of District 6. And the area that you brought up, which is kind of the four corners right there at Airport Road, is of interest to me, and it's already of interest to Midtown Connect. And we've already been working with the Regional Planning Agency to see how we elevate that area. And it's a two-way street. The business owners there, I would want to pull them in and them be part of it. They've got to be excited about how that area becomes better and becomes more part of the community. We should be one community. It shouldn't be, the four corners, and then it shouldn't be Midtown Office Park. It shouldn't be just Tyner. It should be District 6, and we all flow together. So I would definitely want to work with every area of the community. And I also think that the Shepherd community, I already have a great relationship with them, and they're one of the better neighborhood associations and communities, I think, in District 6, because they have this depth of history and the depth of taking care of each other, and they looked after each other. And I look to them as a model for how we approach other neighborhoods and get them involved.
Thank you.
Good, Councilwoman? All right, Ms. Burs, thank you for coming and presenting.
Thank you.
We'll now call our next applicant, Mark Holland.
I want to thank you, Chairman Henderson and Vice Chair Hill, and the council for allowing this to happen today. I'll tell you a little bit about me. Of course, my name is Mark Holland, and I have lived in District 6 since the late 90s, and I have been actively involved in the nonprofit sector for the better part of 25 years. And so when COVID happened, I was sitting at home like everyone else, and I was looking at my television and saying, how can I give back? And then I was contacted by an organization saying, we have funds from 2 organizations, and we're looking for some way to feed these seniors for free. So instead of sitting at home, I went to District 6, where this was at, in the community before it was even called the Kitchen Incubator of Chattanooga. And I took all of the years of experience and the knowledge that I have and the heart for the community and the people, and I poured it into designing a program where we could get 100,000 meals to the seniors for free and giving back to the community, which went beyond District 6. And so during that time that I was there, Jimmy White was the one who gave us the building for free. It used to be Virginia College. We were looking at the facility there. I had a business, and my business was floundering just like everyone else during COVID. And so I volunteered there the whole time, and the organization that I worked for was volunteering for launch. They were thinking about opening up an incubator. So I took my experience and my expertise, still thinking I was going to go back to work, because if you listen to the news, they're saying you're going to go back to work in a few months. And so I continued to volunteer there, design a program for them to help them launch what is there today, which is the Kitchen Incubator of Chattanooga. And through opening that facility, and the door just opened for me to take over the director position of that beautiful kitchen. I was able to take all the years of experience and the knowledge there, and I am a strong believer that knowledge should not be a privilege. If I know it, someone else should know it. So while I was there at the Kitchen Incubator, and they're focused about empowering underrepresented entrepreneurs, women, and also in the low to moderate income, the one thing that I noticed for myself of being in business for myself, that there needed to be education around financial stability. So with that, I started developing a program, still thinking I'm going back to work, is to how can we encourage these entrepreneurs and make them more successful, because they just need the knowledge. So during that time, the ARPA funds came out, and so I developed a curriculum that was able to educate the entrepreneurs, and we now have that curriculum used at the Kitchen Incubator. And through that program, I was offered the position as the director, so I took over that program at the Kitchen Incubator, and because of my heart being so dedicated to the community, I let my business slide, and this is where I put my focus. And this has led me to a lot while I've been here at the Kitchen Incubator. We designed a program program too. We organized 49 community events since I've been there. During those 49 community events, we have been able to take $120,000 annually and put back into those entrepreneurs' pockets. And that's from the community in District 6. And through that, we got the attention of the food bank, and we started passing out 14,000 pounds of food every single week. And so that is part of my leadership and my heart with the community. And so also being there at the Kitchen Incubator, just to give you a little bit of background, it's not just about the entrepreneurs, but we're also heavily involved in the community with the school systems. And so I wanted to make sure that because we were there in Brainerd High School, I just spent last week with Dr. Sorrells driving around to figure out how we can raise awareness around the culinary arts, because some of those entrepreneurs that I'm working with that have never stepped foot into a kitchen, we were able to train them and how to own their own business for the very first time. And so they're going back telling these people in the school, how can we do that? Well, I found out, and the reason we're involved now, that they've cut the budget to $1,400 a year for Brainerd and Howard High School. So we are developing something at the Kitchen Incubator for Brainerd and Howard High School. Dr. Ware and Dr. Sorrells can come and have a competition so we can raise awareness, because through my experience, I'm working with bringing the CTE cooking competitions to District 6. I signed the contract today, so we will have FCCLA here, and I worked closely with the Tourism Board, and we're going to also have the Skills USA competition. What we did last year is we brought the Brainerd High School students who didn't have a kitchen so they could come and witness this and get excited so they can be a representative for our community. So those are some of the things that we're doing in the district. I got a little bit of a story to tell. I'm out of time, though, but I just wanted to give y'all a little bit of background of time, since you guys didn't know who I was.
We'll follow up with questions. We do have at least one on the board. Councilwoman Dotley.
Yes, hey, Mark.
Hey.
Hey. My question is the same for all candidates regarding neighborhood associations. You well know that I'm very neighborhood focused. So with that, what neighborhood association are you a part of, and what role do you play in that association?
Well, currently right now, Rakita, I feel like I'm everywhere, but I'm not actively involved. I just now got involved with the neighborhood, which is across the street from my house, and they meet at Tyner United Methodist Church, and it's Derby Downs. And I was very much impressed by meeting with every one of those individuals, because Tyner is my neighborhood. That's where I live, in Tyner. And so that is part of the neighborhood that you don't know how excited I am to see that high school go up. That high school is encouraging. So what we did is we called that high school and said, we're doing a parade. The second parade to be thrown around Eastgate Loop. We paid for it. We brought the Tyner High School, and the whole school came out. It was just so exciting. So that is the neighborhood association that I will definitely be actively involved in. And Rakita, it goes beyond that. You and I met with the Alton Park community, because when I was in college, I managed the Wendy's on Broad Street. And so that community was my community, because every single day, this is before we had Uber and people could have cars, I drove everyone home every single night, because the only thing that separated me was a vehicle. And so I went to those communities, and so that's why I was excited when you brought that when the Net Resource brought it, that I worked closely with the architect to help design that. I'm excited about being a part of that community as well, even though it's not in my district, because I believe that being in these seats is a privilege, and that we should work together if we have resources. Resources and knowledge should be shared.
All right, thank you so much, Mark, I appreciate it.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mark, I've enjoyed getting to know you through your presentations at council, and also at Dr. Burs's campaign launch. So I tell you, you're District 6 is looking very lucky to have some very engaged and dynamic candidates running for representation. I think Carol would be very proud to see what's stepping up. So my question for you is the same as I asked Jenny, and that is two very important meetings, one on January 17th and one January 23rd that is now passed, that were scheduled at Tyner and also for Midtown Connect. These are the summit, very important, that Carol was talking about with me before her passing. If you can address that and plans to get those on-ramped quickly. The next is in regards to the Midtown Connect receiving its 501c6, what your role in that was and its benefit, that you can tell us what your role will be continued as a council representative in the interim.
Sure. I'm actively involved in the Midtown Connect. I'm on the executive committee that was meeting at Carol's office. And so as far as my involvement on the 501c6, we brought it up to a board from Richard, brought it up as a board vote, and we all voted on the 501c6. We have had several meetings about that. As far as the town hall is concerned, I'm sure that that's going to be on the books and coming up, because the other thing that I was involved with is I'm involved with the Business Resource Collective that's out of the mayor's office. And so I work really closely with Sarah Matson, who is here. And so she brought me into a meeting with Dan Reuter. And so what we brought up as far as what's going on in District 6, he told me about the grant, the $600,000 grant that the city received to study the Brainerd Road and Airport Road area. And so he asked me, because I was very concerned that the BDC downtown, when I was at the meeting at the Business Resource Collective, that they're no longer going to have a place for the mid-level co-packing facility. So if you got a food, we do incubation, where do you go from there? So Dan asked me my opinion of what do I think needs to happen. And I said, well, all of the businesses that we're incubating are going down to Main Street. Why can't we do that there in Brainerd? When I went down Brainerd Road in the 80s, when I graduated high school, it was like Gun Barrel Road. It's where you want it to be. So seeing those plans that could come up in the community was exciting to me. And that's one of the things that motivated me to run, because I see the momentum. And when you can see it and you can taste it, you know, someone has to be there in that seat to make sure that that voice is heard, because I think the community in some aspects has been overlooked. And as she brought up over here about the other community with the Latino population, we're actually looking at bringing someone in, because those are individuals that we serve, and then they are getting taken advantage of when they're trying to start a business. So those meetings, I am excited about Midtown Connect. I've served on the board. We've had 2 successful events that I've been very active in. I haven't taken a vacation in 5 years, because every single meeting, I wanted to be at the meeting to make an impact. I'm not the person that plans them. I'm on the golf cart. I'm picking up trash. I'm talking to every single person. I'm actively involved in everything that we do in the community.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. Woo, Mr. Holland, thank goodness you ain't got on no necktie today. You'll have to come up out of that thing, but thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your willingness to serve. I personally like what I'm hearing, because I love people that are community focused and involved, and the ones that's willing to, even though you're serving as a council person, you don't mind picking up the trash.
Absolutely.
You don't mind going into those areas, you know, to the people that's often marginalized at a disadvantage, to say, listen, I'm here to extend a hand. That's what's important to me, and I look for individuals that's going to be Chattanooga focused, not just lasered in on their district specifically, which is great for all of us, but also to have a mindset of how can we serve all of Chattanooga, not just District 6. So I pose the same question that I posed to Jenny, is that you have pockets of District 6 that's been tremendously marginalized and at a disadvantage, not just in that Lee Highway, Shepherd corridor, but even around on that Ooltewah side, close to Harrison. You got other pockets, Brainerd as well. So what would be your plan to engage them in the conversation around what's happening in District 6?
Well, that's a very good point. I'm glad you brought it up, Councilwoman Conrad, because in those pockets of community, what we have found, there's no trust. They don't trust anyone in any type of leadership. So the one thing that you're going to have to do, the biggest hurdle before someone comes in and says you've got to go somewhere else, is develop the trust. You know, do we have affordable housing in District 6? The answer is no. When you see these developers putting in these places, where is everyone going to go? And so I think by having a voice on this seat, which would be a privilege, is making sure that those developers are developing something for those communities. But I think something needs to be created where they feel like they're being heard and there's a voice. I can't tell you the number of times people come to my office that they get taken advantage of, and I have to use Google Translate just to communicate with those communities that you're talking about there at Airport Road. So I think something needs to happen. I think a developer needs to have a tax abatement or something, or a tip TIF in the area to make affordable housing and to create a community.
Thank you.
My heart is for the community.
You good, Councilwoman?
Yep, thank you.
Councilman Hester?
How you doing? I'm gonna raise the same question. So if appointed tonight in the interim and you become, and during the election you lose, will you continue to be engaged with the community?
I'm engaged every single day. That's the one privilege I have. Every single day I get up, I'm working in the community. I'm helping someone to do their business. Whether I'm sitting in that seat or not, my heart, my drive, my mission, my goal is the same. I think it would be a privilege. No one will ever be able to fill Carol Burs' shoes, but they can feel her spirit, her drive, and making sure what she created will continue. So whether I win or lose, I mean, when I was thinking about running, it was at the last minute, and it was every one of the entrepreneurs that were at the kitchen that I helped them. They said, you go talk to the public the way that you talk to us, and I'll support you. Because the drive that you put behind us is what we need in this community. So they're the ones that motivated me, along with my friend Carol Burs. I mean, she was just, I went to her because we were doing all these community events, and I asked her for more money, and she stopped me and she said, Mark, don't ever ask for money. She goes, always ask for what does money represent. And so when you were at that, Councilwoman Ledford, when you were there at that ribbon cutting, I took that opportunity in front of both mayors and Carol Burs to exercise the advice that she had given me. And that because in my position, I have to look forward and forecast. And I saw that these young entrepreneurs, their first and second year, they're vulnerable. So I knew what was going to happen, and it's happening right now because we didn't get a chance to get the funds to complete what we wanted to complete. But we have these entrepreneurs that are mothers with children that had to go get a second job, driving bus because we couldn't complete it. So the drive that you see in me today is the same drive whether I get elected or not. Whoever gets in that position is going to be the person that I'm going to put my drive behind. But I tell you one thing, though, whoever's in that position, you're going to hear from me if it's not me.
Well spoken. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Holland. Next up, Ms. Jennifer Gregory.
Hi. My name is Jennifer Gregory, and I'm applying for the job of being our next councilwoman for District 6. I'm a born and raised Chattanoogan, and I've spent decades in the food and beverage industry, restaurant management, and community service. I'm now in real estate, and I love what I do, helping people make some of the largest financial decisions of their lifetimes. In real estate, we have fiduciary duties to our clients, which means we put our clients' needs above all else. I take this responsibility very seriously, and I will do just the same with the citizens of Chattanooga as our next councilwoman. I know this council has a challenging decision in front of you, deciding from 3 well-qualified candidates that are running for election. Regardless of today's decision, I look forward to the people of District 6 choosing our next elected official in March and hopefully sitting with you in this interim seat. I'm running for this position because I want to bring my experience in community service and customer service to this council. I believe the voters of District 6 deserve to have a choice for their next elected official and to show my 3 young nieces that we can all make a difference in our communities. I grew up with a mother who ran Erlanger's emergency room for 20-plus years. My father graduated from Kirkland High and worked a large printing press downtown for decades. They instilled in me a value of hard work from a very young age. A couple of things that I would like to talk about today very briefly. I'm trying to keep it brief here for you. And on the campaign trail. Affordable housing. First, we need to agree on what affordable housing even means. As a realtor, I see the impact that the housing market has on everyone's lives in this community. I believe in accountability being put into place where taxpayer dollars are spent on these projects. I believe we should be incredibly mindful of tax increases that potentially price people out of their own homes. On safer neighborhoods, we all deserve to have a safe place to call home. We also deserve to have infrastructure that supports our community's needs and makes travel safer on our streets. In the way of small business, I'm a small business owner. I understand many of the challenges faced and will support other small businesses throughout District 6 and in this city. At the end of this day, this job is about serving our neighbors, And that's exactly what I will do in office. People, real everyday people who wake up just wanting fair and decent wages, the best education system for their children, and safe neighborhoods and streets deserve to have someone who wakes up to serve them. I'm here to listen and learn from this council, the citizens of District 6, and I'm not afraid to have hard conversations to work on reaching a consensus. I'm looking forward to hearing more and working together in the future. I'm looking forward to earning votes as we walk on the campaign trail together. My name is Jennifer Gregory, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, questions? Councilwoman Dotley?
Yes, hey, Jen, good to see you.
Good to see you.
So of course, I'm gonna ask you the same questions, because you know I'm very neighborhood focused. We've been
Yes,
on each other a
ma'am.
long time.
I do know that.
So what neighborhood association are you part of, and what role do you play?
So I'm in South Brainerd. It's been called a lot of things over the years, but South Brainerd doesn't have a neighborhood association. My closest neighborhood association is in Belvoir. I have a lot of friends in that neighborhood. I'm looking forward to helping them celebrate their 100th anniversary as a neighborhood soon. So hoping we'll have one in South Brainerd someday soon. But as far as the neighborhoods as a whole, they're the heart of what we do in this job, right? I'm looking forward to working closely with everyone in neighborhood associations and folks that can't attend neighborhood meetings because they have everyday lives. Looking forward to meeting those folks too.
All right, thank you so much.
Councilman Ledford?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
Thank you for coming and submitting your application. Same question as the other two candidates, if you don't mind. Would you tell us your thoughts on the summit for Midtown, obviously, and then the Tyner Town Hall, which were two planned events that Dr. Burs had on the calendar, number one, and they're very important to how they sets a tone for initiatives and priorities moving forward.
Absolutely.
And I'm very familiar with those two, having worked closely with Dr. Burs. And then the second, can you talk a little bit, if you've been involved with the Midtown Connect and its process through gaining this 501c6 status, and what importance it has to District 6?
Sure.
Thank you.
As far as the summits go, I look forward to jumping in. I'm happy to work, whether it's in the interim position or as a citizen of District 6. I'm happy to jump in and get involved. That's kind of what I do. I'm a boots on the ground girl. As far as Midtown Connect, I'm not involved with Midtown Connect, but I've started a 501c3 and a 501c6. So I'm familiar with how these organizations work. Would love to jump in, listen, and learn.
Thank you.
Gladly.
Thank you, Chair.
Councilwoman Coonrod?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Jen, for throwing your resume in the hat
Yes, ma'am.
to serve as interim. The South Brainerd area, you know, it borders District 9, since they kind of drew Belvoir and some of the areas, they kind of just skipped you over about a block or two.
Shifted around a little bit.
But make sure you buy some Girl Scout cookies from Grace Episcopal Church. Let me
Yes,
just put
ma'am.
that plug in.
I can do
there,
that.
Because it's right there on the corner.
Tag-alongs are my favorite.
But I give you the same question that I ask everybody else is, that, you know, it's a food apartheid right there in that area. A lot of our residents in that area go over to East Ridge to kind of shop. You got 3 homeless camps that's kind of around in that area. And then we have not traditionally embraced or brought in, or used civic engagement to the people that's, I guess, more at a lower socioeconomic income than a lot of people that live in District 6. So how will you engage those communities, those populations of people to get them involved in what's happening in District 6?
Thank you for asking that. I think it would be foolish of anyone that's in this position or in the community to think that any particular district is a monolith, right? So you go where folks are at. Getting people involved in those districts, there are real life challenges there, right? They've got everyday lives that they're living. Supporting those communities may mean walking in and just talking to folks and asking what they need. It's that simple. Not everyone can make it to a meeting like this at 3:30 in the afternoon if they're at work. So I think working with community leaders, neighborhood leaders, asking what they need in their community, talking to folks every day.
Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair?
Thank you. Thank you for applying, and Mark, thank you for applying. All my questions were answered, so don't feel left out. As you talked, Jen, you brought up some points that were different than the other two applicants. And I find that in this moment, my job here as a member of the city council is to be thinking about what do I think will best serve District 6 in the next 9 weeks. And we've talked a lot about Midtown Connect, and some of the traditions and rhythms that District 6 has come to appreciate or participate in over the last 15-plus years under Councilwoman Burs. So I'm interested in how you see the role of custodian of this seat for the next 9 weeks versus being elected to the seat. Because obviously, when an election for an open seat is there, you have or a contested seat, you have a lot of opportunity for conversation within a district about, this is what we've done, this is where we want to go, and then the community votes and decides, right?
Right.
So it's kind of a esoteric question, but if you wouldn't mind indulging me, kind of talk me through where your head's at on what it is to step into a seat that has strong tradition versus coming into a seat fresh as an elected leader.
Sure. Regarding your point about the interim seat, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? I'm here to listen and to learn. I wouldn't pretend to know everything that's happened historically. Of course, I'm aware of it, but I'm looking forward to digging in and learning more. Moving forward, again, the same, listening and learning. I think continuing many of those initiatives are a critical part that have laid a foundation for what District 6 is. And I hope I get a chance to be part of that.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Hester.
Okay, I'm going to pose the same question to you. Oftentimes, folks run for election, we don't see them again in like 3.5 years later. So if appointed tonight, will you continue to be engaged? If you lose the election, will you continue to be engaged with District 6 and with the person who wins?
Absolutely. I think we hear that a lot, right? Folks don't see someone at their door until they're knocking for another vote. Some of us are out front and in the press doing work. Some of us are boots on the ground and just getting it done. I certainly intend to get it done, keep working with folks, regardless of the interim seat, regardless of winning the city council seat in March.
Thanks.
Gladly.
All right, Ms. Gregory, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time today.
I'm sorry?
Appreciate your time.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Council, we will open the floor for nominations under other business. At that time, feel free to make nominations for any one of these 3. And what we'll do is take a roll call vote, and the person who reaches a majority of votes first will fill that seat. Any questions or concerns about the order of the process this evening? Okay. If not, could I have a motion on the minutes? All right, we have a motion on the minutes with proper second. With no objections, they'll stand as recorded. Moving into our discussion of agenda, looking at this week's agenda items, we have no items on final read. Looking down into ordinances on first read, we do have a couple of items that we are considering tonight. Any questions or comments under Public Works or planning on items first read? Seeing no lights, we're moving down into resolutions under economic development. Chief, I think we've got a couple of deferrals that we're going to be asking for, is that correct?
Yes, sir. So for the item related to the pilot policies, we would like to ask for a 14-day or 2-week deferral.
Okay, that would, let me get a date to make sure we're on the same page. We're talking about the 11th? February the 11th?
February, that's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, so council, you've heard the request from administration to defer this until February the 11th.
And then for the second item, this is related to the pilot for Novonix. We would ask that this item be deferred until March the 11th.
March the 11th.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions or comments, Councilman Smith?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief got me covered on the Novonix.
Okay.
As many of you know, I've been just a little bit vocal on this item over the last few weeks, and there's ongoing conversations, and there's a lot of work going on right now within the company to make sure that we get it all buttoned up right, and it's going to end up being something that the whole community will be really proud of. So I appreciate the consideration to continue to defer this until we get it right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jermaine, are you, keep us informed on the pilot standards? I had requested that we try to find a streamlined version. I know that's difficult in the I guess the calendar process and the number of steps required. I know that we maybe have trimmed it down one, but can you talk a little bit about that, or at least if you're still working through that process, make sure we talk.
We are still working through the process. I think we have trimmed it down by one meeting, but we will continue to work, and this extra 2 weeks gives us a little bit more time to continue to work on it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions about the two deferral items this evening?
Chairman?
Okay, follow up?
Follow-up, yes. I just wanted to acknowledge the work that Councilman Smith has been engaged in regarding Novonix. It's a very deep dive into and a very comprehensive look into the mechanics of this, and also, I guess, the optics, if you will. And I think it's the work that's being done there is very important. I just wanted to acknowledge that and say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, moving down through the rest of our resolutions, Family Justice Center, Mayor's Office, and Transportation. Any questions or comments on any of those items? If not, moving to our February the 4th proposed agenda. All of our items on first read will be final read that week. A couple of items on first read. And then under resolutions, we have one item for the police. Any questions about next week's proposed agenda? Okay. Moving into our purchase items for this afternoon. Council, if you'll take a look at that sheet. Is there any items on our purchase request this afternoon that you have concerns with? I'm not seeing any lights. Moving into future considerations. Future considerations. We do have a small budget amendment that we need to consider on February the 11th. And I believe our public hearing is next week. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, we have a public hearing next week for any of you that would like to come and participate in that. February the 4th, we will be having a public hearing on our operating and capital budget amendments. All right, I am not seeing any questions on future considerations. We have no committee or departmental reports at this time. Is there anything else that needs to come before the council before we take about a 30-minute recess? And then we will dive into our order of business. Anything else needs to come before the council? Madam Vice Chair.
I would just like to say one thing, Mr. Chair, about the process of appointing someone to this District 6 seat. The council has gotten several emails from folks, many outside of District 6 actually, that I received, asking us not to fill this position. And speaking only for myself, I will say that I personally would prefer to have someone apply who would be a custodian of this seat only for the 9 weeks that before the election. I expressed that in our strategic planning. I expressed it when we had to do this with District 8. But in fact, we have no applicants that would only be applying for that short term. Everyone that applied, we had 3 applicants, and they were all already qualified to be on the ballot. I do believe that the people of District 6 have a lot of work happening, and they need representation. And so while we may not always get what we want, we need to make sure that the people of District 6 have representation. And so that, for me, is why I think it's important that we proceed as planned. But I appreciate the input from folks who decided to reach out.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On that note, there's 76 days until the next council rep is sworn in, 53 business days roughly, I think, excluding our holidays. In regards to those onslaught of emails from folks outside of the district, I just want to say I disagree with you. I think we should have filled that spot even sooner, and 76 days without representation on top of, that's from today, when Carol passed away, is too long. So I want to say I'm glad we're doing this process today. Thank you.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. I ditto Councilman Ledford that the seat, it needs to be filled. I would have hoped that it would have been someone entered to fill in as interim or custodian that wasn't in the race. I mean, we've got 3 great candidates to choose from within the next 30 minutes or so. But also to add to the emails, like, I love receiving emails from people that lived in the district expressing, but the ones that didn't live in the community, like, that's concerning to me. But also there were phone calls. And for me, what was upsetting to me is to hear that some constituents had been talked out of even putting in their resume for District 6. Or to even think that council members would have been bartered to, towards specific candidates. And for me, I'm for what's fair, what's right. Everybody made a great spiel, run for interim. And that's how I lean on with that. Nobody's pressuring me to vote in a certain way. Nobody's threatening me to vote a certain way. None of that. So we gotta stop with that kind of foolishness that's going around, intimidation factors. If anybody didn't submit their resume because they was intimidated not to, you should have done it anyway. You should have done it anyway. I hate that has happened. Like, all of us are still grieving the loss of our colleague, and to have to continue to put up with acts like that, like, it's just real disheartening. District 6 deserves somebody who will continue to lead this district, no matter who it may be. That's going to continue to do great things for District 6 and the entire city of Chattanooga, and that's what I'm focused on. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Attorney, do we need an attorney-client privilege?
Not today, sir.
All right, we will recess until 4:45.